Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World Halal Business Conference, WHBC, parallel sessions entitled Global Alignment on Halal Conformity. Thank you for attending this virtual event brought to you by Halal Development Corporation, HDC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya al-mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. A very good morning and a very warm welcome to distinguished guest yang berusaha Mr. Hairol Ariffein Sha'ari, Chief Executive Officer of Halal Development Corporation, HDC, our special guest, distinguished panelists, representatives from the government and private sectors, yang bahagia datuk-datuk, tuan-tuan, puan-puan, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, we welcome all of you to the WHBC Parallel Session 2021 organized by Halal Development Corporation, HDC. WHBC, which was formerly known as World Halal Conference, WHC, is a renowned, prestigious annual conference hosting a multitude of halal stakeholders in agreement to share our collective experiences and expertise and subsequently deliberate on a common platform on the various challenges facing the industry. These new ideas and perspectives generated during conference will certainly help to elevate the halal industry into new heights of achievements. This year's theme is Halal, the catalyst for universal economic recovery. Our session today, entitled Global Alignment on Halal Conformity, and this event is conducted virtually at multiple platforms such as Zoom, HDC, Facebook, and World Halal Business Conference 2021, WHBC 2021, Facebook, and other platforms. Let me first introduce myself. My name is 𝗪𝗪𝗕𝗖. I'm the Senior Director of Standardization Division, Department of Standards Malaysia. Today, I'll be your moderator for this webinar, which I trust you will enjoy, as we will be joined by prominent panelists from SMIIC Turkey, Indonesia, as well as our local panelists, Malaysia. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any question during the session, please type them into the question box in your control panel and leave your email addresses. I'll bring up during the session, or in the interest of time, please leave your email addresses and we'll send the answers via email later. To kick off the event, it's my great pleasure and privilege to invite Mr. Hairol Ariffein Sha'ari, Chief Executive Officer, CEO of HDC, to deliver his opening remarks. Please welcome Mr. Hairol Ariffein. Sir, the floor is yours.
Wabarakatuh and good morning. Mr. Ihsan Ovut, Secretary General, the Standards and Metrology Institute for the Islamic Countries of SMIIC Turkey, Professor IR Sukoso, Professor of Nutrigenomic, Brawijaya University, Indonesia, Ustazah Hajah Hakimah Muhammad Yusoff, Deputy Director, Policy, Department of Islamic Development, JAKIM, Malaysia, Mr. 𝗪𝗪𝗕𝗖, Senior Director, Department of Standard Malaysia, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor to welcome all of you today at the World Halal Business Conference, or WHBC 2021. This year's theme is Halal, the catalyst for universal economic recovery, is a commitment to ensure that Halal becomes a strong value proposition as an important and strategic industry, one that will play a vital part in improving the global economy over the coming years. More than 2,000 delegates from 60 countries, with representatives from various governments, industry experts, policymakers, scholars, and civil society are expected to attend this first virtual World Halal Business Conference. WHBC, which was formerly known as World Halal Conference, or WHC, is a renowned, prestigious annual conference hosting a multitude of halal stakeholders in unison to share our collective experiences and expertise and subsequently deliberate on a common platform on the various challenges facing the industry. These new ideas and perspectives generated during the conference will certainly help to elevate the halal industry into new heights of achievements. One of the sessions today is Global Alignment on Halal Conformity, conformance of standard as one of the essence that will increase international trade. Malaysia is known as a Muslim country worldwide, which among the earliest initiated the development of halal certification and halal standard. Thus, the halal industry evolved and elevate Malaysia's status as a global leader in the halal economy. The global halal market size is expected to reach USD 5 trillion by 2030, with countries such as Malaysia setting the benchmark in the coming years. To capture the whole demand of global halal industry and accelerate the growth of Malaysian halal industry, Malaysia has developed 35 halal standards, which are not exclusively for food, but have been extended to other categories including pharmaceuticals, medical devices, cosmetics, logistics, and other consumer goods. I wish to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished moderator and panelists and our online viewers for your presence at the World Halal Business Conference 2021. In the era of globalization, finding a new market with niche products and services is challenging to the world market players. Halal branding is one of the many requirements by industry players that make a significant impact to the global market. As a basic necessity, halal food has a strong demand to consumers from Muslim countries. Halal is a term used to clearly identify either the product's livestock, processed food, or other consumption products are allowable to be consumed by Muslims. Before the establishment of halal certification is accredited, product is assumed halal based on trust without proper investigation and conformance. The concept of halal is used in many applications such as pharmaceutical, cosmetics, food manufacturing, and many more industries. However, the emergence of other food safety standards such as hazard analysis, critical control point or HACCP, good manufacturing practice or GMP, and International Standardization Organization or ISO has led the path for the creation of halal food standard. Halal standard is usually confined within a country, and consequently, the responsibility of any products to be declared as halal is the prerogative from the government of any organization which is authorized by the government. It might be different in terms of Sharia application due to various Muslim scholars. As a progressive Muslim country with consistent economic development and growth rate as well as political and social stability, Malaysia is the leader in the world's halal industry. The success story of Malaysia as the pioneer in the halal industry began in 1974 when the Research Center for the Islamic Affairs Division in the Prime Minister's office started to issue halal certification letters for products that met the halal criteria at that time. The first halal standards was released in 2000 and recorded an important milestone for Malaysia as it became the first country to have a documented and systematic halal assurance system. The standards became the impetus to a new revolution that had transformed halal from strength to strength, from a traditional cottage industry to a vibrant new economy with an estimated global market value of USD 2.3 trillion. The rapid development of halal certification in Malaysia has also prompted the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, or JAKIM, to extend its Halal section into a much bigger organization in 2005, officially named Jakim's Halal Hub. Jakim was the world's first Halal certification body, responsible for monitoring the Halal governance, leading to the amendment of Malaysia's Trade Description Act in 2011, which gives Jakim a much stronger mandate to regulate the halal industry. Jakim's recognition program for international halal bodies is the most stringent and sought-after bilateral halal system recognition program in the world, with over 50 international bodies registered to date. The iconic Malaysia halal logo is the most sought-after, globally recognized hallmark that serves as an emblem for the country's reputation as the world's leading halal hub. Indonesia has endorsed the halal law in 2014. One of the significant points in the law is the shift to halal certification being mandatory. It is stated clearly in the Article 4 of the law: products that enter, circulate, and are traded in the territory of Indonesia must be certified halal. This has triggered much concern as the products are very broad. The law defines it to include products or services that are related to food, beverages, drugs, cosmetics, chemical products, biological products, genetically modified products, and consumer goods that are worn, used, or utilized by the public. Indonesia is the first country in the world to regulate in this way. Another significant point is the establishment of the new Halal Product Certification Agency, or BPJPH, under the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Currently, all certification is handled by the Indonesian Ulama Council, or MUI, through its Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Assessment Agency, or LPPPOM. BPJPH, as stated in the law, can set up representatives in local regions. In ASEAN region itself, countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and Philippines has their own institution which in charge of halal certification. Halal industry has a promising market all over the world. However, less discussion being held on the real impact on value of export for product which registered as halal product. Strong halal conformance are proven to assist corporations to penetrate into new market. Nevertheless, halal standard is not the only factor that will increase the value of export. Due to increasing demand of halal product, particularly from the Organization of Islamic Countries, or OIC member states, there is a need to have uniformity and consensus among country members in terms of halal certification. This issue leads to the idea of harmonization or halal standard which is mutually accepted by all country members. The Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, or SMIIC, as an institute developing necessary mechanisms for the OIC countries, aims at setting new standards in the member states and eliminating technical barriers to trade, consequently increasing the trade among them. The institute also aims to establish conformity assessment schemes for the purpose of expediting exchange of materials, manufactured goods, and products among member states, beginning with mutual recognition of certificates. The SMIIC also seeks for achieving uniformity in metrology, laboratory testing, and standardization activities among member states, and ensuring education and training and providing technical assistance to the OIC members in the domain of standardization and metrology. Hence, the Institute may cooperate with other regional and international standardization or international organizations interested partially or wholly in standardization, metrology, or related fields. SMIIC Strategic Plan 2021-2030 is the blueprint for the next 10 years to assist us in achieving our new vision to create a quality infrastructure that improves economy, welfare, and protects our member states. This plan will articulate our vision for the future based on our members' needs and expectations. The strategic plan focuses on 3 distinct strategic goals: develop high-quality standards that are used worldwide, support members' needs and ensure effective engagement and their stakeholders, and support the enhancement of quality infrastructure and interconnectivity of members. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the SMIIC Strategic Plan 2021-2030 and we could achieve our intention towards global alignment within the standard and certification among the members countries and globally accepted, thus being able to the enhancement of halal industry growth. Finally, I hope that this session will achieve its intended objective and will be an engaging and insightful. I wish everyone success and have a pleasant discussion. Once again, on behalf of HDC, I would like to record my appreciation and acknowledge our distinguished moderator and panelists, as well as our online audience, for the commitment towards the successful of the deliberation at today's session and overall of World Halal Business Conference 2021. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hairol Ariffein, the CEO of HTC, for a very inspiring welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Muslim population has now reached 1.5 billion, representing 24.9% of the world's population, and the population is expected to increase to 2.2 billion or 26.4% by 2030. The halal market also will be growing fast and clear demand for developing the halal industries. However, the lucrative market of the halal industry is also facing huge challenges as several of the halal standards are being implemented globally. The study on halal standards shows an increasing the awareness among the countries and organizations globally about establishing their own halal standards. However, some of the countries prefer to adopt the halal standards certified internationally by other countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, or even SMIIC and etc. As defined by the WTO-TBT agreement, standards mean a document approved by a recognized body that provides common and repeated use, rules, guidelines, or characteristics for products or related processes and production methods with which compliance is not mandatory. So I would just like to highlight that standard is voluntary, is not mandatory. And the agreement further defines conformity assessment procedures, because this also relates with our topic of discussion today. It defines conformity assessment procedures as any procedure used directly or indirectly to determine the relevant requirements in technical regulation of standards are fulfilled. So this means example of conformity assessment procedures include certification, testing, accreditation, and whatnot. And further, the TBT agreement also defines technical regulation, meaning that law. So it defines that technical regulation or law as a document which lays down product characteristics or their related processes or production methods, including the applicable administrative provisions with which compliance is mandatory. So you can see there where the dynamic of standards, conformity assessment procedures, and also technical regulation is just part of and parcel of today's discussion. So when we talk about halal infrastructure, so it covers standards, setting, organization, authority, certification, and accreditation. So as I mentioned earlier, we are blessed because we have a very prominent panelist to join the discussion today. Let me first introduce the first panelist. The first panelist is His Excellency Mr. Ihsan Ovut. He is currently the Secretary General of SMIIC since 2014, Prior to his assignment as the Secretary of SMIIC, he was assuming various directorial positions at the Turkish Standards Institutions from 2000 to 2014. Mr. Ihsan holds Bachelor of Science of International Relations from University of Ankara, Turkey in 1989. During his tenure as the Secretary of SMIIC, he has been very instrumental to many SMIIC initiatives in promoting global harmonized halal standards. Our second panel members is basically Professor Insinyur Sukoso. So Professor Sukoso is a professor of Nutrigenomic and Marine Fisheries Products in Brawijaya University in Malang, Indonesia. He possesses PhD in Fisheries from United Graduate School, Kagoshima University, Japan in 1998. He also holds a master degree from the same university in 1991. Apart from his academic career, he is currently the Director General of Halal Product Assurance Agency of Republic Indonesia, or in short, BPJPH, from 2017 to until now. He has a very vast experience in trade deals negotiation in halal, where he was the head of the Indonesian delegation to the World Trade Organization Technical Barriers to Trade Committee in Geneva, Switzerland. He was also the head of the Indonesian delegation in trade negotiation for halal products in bilateral negotiation between Indonesia and Chile, Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines. Our last but not least, the panel members is basically Madam Hajah Hakimah Muhammad Yusoff, or Ustazah Hakimah. Ustazah Hakimah is currently the Director General, the Deputy Director General, Policy, Department of Islamic Development, Malaysia, JAKIM, from 2018 until now. Prior to this assignment, she was the former Director of Halal Division, JAKIM, from 2011 to 2016. He has a very wide experience in halal-related matters since 2013, as she involved in the development of many Malaysian halal standards. She has also been representing JAKIM in many bilateral and multilateral negotiations on halal issues. To start the session, I would like to give every distinguished panelist to present about their respective organization for 5 to 6 minutes. We now start with the first panelist, His Excellency Mr. Ihsan Ovut. Please, Excellency, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I think it was unmute. It was mute. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I will repeat again my words because of it was muted. Distinguished brother and sister, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I will first have to thank for the organizer to invite to make this important conference, Halal Business Conference Series. I congratulate Malaysian brothers and sisters for their active work for halal sectors for many years. They have a lot of experience, and the first experience country in this all sectors like halal. I shortly will inform about because of our brothers, Mr. Hairol and brother Mirza, give a lot of information. Important point about SMIIC. Thanks all of them. SMIIC is the priority-based and intergovernmental organization and technical and affiliated to the OIC. Is recognized as an international organization, has diplomatic status in Turkey, established in 2010, August officially started. Our headquarters in Istanbul, Turkey, but I have to say we are not a certification body, not confirmed by this. Brother Hairol shortly informed about the objective of SMIIC. I will move to the next. We have a long history because of the project of the OIC starting 1985 to establish a unique standardization body for the all OIC. At that time, that was after many years working on the project, officially, as I said, started in 2010. We have during this 10 years, last 10 years, we worked or studied on to institutionalize our organizations. Now, alhamdulillah, we have a professional organization. We have new statute, rules of procedures, and a lot of internal regulation and directives and guides for standard activities. As Brother Hairol said, we have a new strategic plan for next 10 years. We have 45 members all around the world. Can be reached from our website. We have a new vision as Brother said, we have a new strategic management under the 3 strategic goals. This is our strategic plan. For halal confirmed assessment, as mentioned by the speakers, standards very important. Standard the key to any confirmed assessment to assess activities, since the pillars of the confirmed assessment depend on the existence of necessary standards. Should we have to have standards for like sectors, and then for certification and accreditation. As a SMIIC, last 3 years, I worked on for quality infrastructure. Pyramid, which show the from the bottom level, now we have standards for products or services. We have standards for confirmed access activity like certification, testing laboratories, etc. And we have standards for accreditation, which will be used by all OIC institution accreditation bodies, and the future of the recognition will be done by a designated. This document has been prepared and approved by the board of directors. Now it's going to the OIC and be distributed to all our OIC member states. And then I just want to mention important issues for quality infrastructure is accreditation. National recognition is to serve. Maybe it was very important last, but the future of the quality infrastructure is the accreditation. You can see from the travel of products from the beginning to the end, we need to have standards. And with OIC Global Halal Quadrant, we will have traceability, increase of consumer trust on halal, and we will have mutual recognition. And finally, there will be diminishing in the technical barriers to trade. And as a result, we will have a full halal, inshallah. Shortly, want to give some information about SMIIC. SMIIC has General Assembly, Board of Directors, and 3 main councils, one for accreditation. All accreditation bodies of the OIC SMIIC members are here. Representing, we have Standardization Management Council, represented by elected 9 members governing standard activities. We have Metrology, open to all Metrology of the OIC or SMIIC members. Accreditation and Metrology Council and standardization, all of them are managed by the member states. And our short name of the published standards is OIC SMIIC standards, because we are preparing all standards for OIC countries, not only for SMIIC members. We have a technical committee for the standard activities. Each technical committee has a title, scope, work program, and business plan. And like international organizations, They have a permanent secretary given to a country, and have a chairman that participation of observer members and large organization and experts. Observes any international organization can be linked to the activities. Malaysian has two secretaries in this our tech committees. This is our list of our tech committee. We have 17 committees and a committee plus a committee for company assessment for the verification and annotation activities. All standards are based on project, starting from the proposal, preparation, and committee level working document and maturity document, and then go to the general secretary level. And we are sending to all SMIIC members for inquiry and for voting. Each time, each level, we have timing. We have to wait sometimes 3 months, 2 months, etc. As if document finalized, is going to publish it in that we have in all international practices. This all activities are doing for our technical system. This is our published standards. We till now we have 16 published standards on halal issues. 23 is developed, prepared by SMIIC committees. 19 is adapted from the international. Totally, we have 42 standards. Just want to shortly say what is Islamic rule in OIC standards. Only fatwa taken from the international Islamic academies are accepted as the standards. Here I can say 2 issues in accreditation bodies and certification bodies. These organs should be owned and directed by Muslims because our standards close the accreditation of non-Muslim countries. This is very important of our issues. This is a list of our published standards. This is the last slide. We have SMIIC 1, 2, 3 as originally prepared by the OIC itself, and then moved to the SMIIC. But at 2019, these standards are radically changed, but all of them is based on international and plus Islamic rules, Islamic Sharia rules, including standards are not Sharia holy documents, standards are including many holy or Islamic rules. You have to be careful about standards of the and terms that brothers say what standard, what not standard. This is our 16 standards. I'm just showing because the 5 minutes is finished. Finally, I want to say OIC standard are the result of common study and achievement of OIC member states and its partners through the technical committees, SMIIC the common platform to the all stakeholders, and OIC halal standards are common standards for the Muslim world and all interested parties. Thank you, moderator, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Ihsan, for the very informative presentation. So now let's turn to the second panelist, Professor Sukoso. Please welcome Professor Sukoso. I would just like to kindly remind you, you have 5 to 6 minutes to present a brief background of your organization. Please, sir, you may now take the floor.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished brother, sister, thank you for the opportunity given to me to give the presentation. I will present on the topic of global alignment halal conformity. And the purpose, okay, I'm so sorry because the presentation, is it ready to, hello? Okay, please show my presentation. Yes. Okay, maybe the technical problem. So could we continue with no material for presenting here? Okay, please show. Well, thank you. So here is my presentation. Yeah. So I present the global alignment on halal compliance. Yeah, and of course this is presented on the forum World Halal Business Conference in September 19, 2021. This is my email address and also mobile phone. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the purpose of this presentation is to provide information to developments related to halal in Indonesia. I describe the history of halal in Indonesia in this presentation, especially after the issuance of the Halal Product Guarantee Law number 33, where the government became the main controller in the halal certification process. So the issuance of the law on halal product guarantee number 33 of 2014 indeed began with a long journey of halal history in Indonesia, which actually started in 1989, but the status is voluntary. Based on this law, halal certification becomes mandatory, which previously was voluntary. So the mechanism for implementing this law number 33 must be equipped with a set of regulations, such as here is the government regulation number 31 and regulation of the ministry religion number 26 issued in 2019 before the mandatory halal certification began. So we start in 17 October 2019. It's mandatory for halal certification in Indonesia. In 1 year of mandatory halal certification, the Indonesia government carried out reform with the issuance of law number 11 of the we call it omnibus law in the field of halal product guarantees. So I think all of the audience are familiar that Indonesia is a country with the largest Muslim population in the world. The state's commitment to protecting the interests of the Indonesian nation is enshrined in Article 29 of the in our constitution in here. So in this presentation here, I also try to state the contents of our constitution in the chapter 29, that the state is based on the one Godhead, and the state guarantees the independence of each resident to embrace their respective religions and worship according to their religious and belief. For this basis, the law on halal product guarantee was born, which was approved by the House of Representatives and submitted to government on October 17, 2014. Well, next slide, please. Okay. So I talk about the institutional here is for establishing the BPGPs here is based on the presidential regulation number 83 in 2015, and also supported by the Ministerial of Religion regulation number 42 in 2016. And the BPGBA status to do the activity as the public service agency, or we call is BLU, or Badan Layanan Umum. It is based on the law number 33 in article number 45 that BPGBA is managing finance, uses the financial management of public service agencies. And for supporting this status, the Ministry of Finance also have give the decree number 3 2019 is public service agency, and the Ministry of Finance also give the decree number 57 2021 for halal product guarantee service rate. Okay, next slide, please. Well, according to the standard, we until now we are still in 3 standard. That is the main standard that we use basically in the halal management system is we call as Indonesian National Standard, or SNI number 99001 that published in 2016, and also Indonesian National Standard for poultry halal slaughter in 2016, and also the halal slaughter for ruminants. It's a standard number 99003 published in 2018. While for the workers or human resources, we also have a standard we call as Indonesian National Work Competency Standard, or SKKNI, that's including the halal auditors, penyelia halal or internal auditor, also the halal badger. Okay, next slide, please. Well, this is the topic on halal infrastructure alignment. When as mandatory to implement the halal certification, we also in national, we do the understanding and harmonization of halal product guarantees in October 16, 2019 with 11 ministries and institutions to make halal certification mandatory starting on October 17, 2019. So now is 2 years we implement the halal certification in Indonesia. For international law, we implementing as mentioned in the law number 33 in article number 46 and 47. There's also we work together in IMTGT, WG HAPAS, or we call it Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand Broad Triangle Working Group on Halal Product. In this case, we also share together to have some idea how to make a growth our area in the IMTGT as the halal to implement the halal product. And also we make a communication in the MABIMS, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, Singapore, and so we also adopt some standard from SMIIC, OIC, and also bilateral negotiation for harmonization and understanding of halal product guarantees. Okay, next slide, please. So here, I try to again to make a stressing on mandatory for halal certification. The mandatory law that's in the law number 33 in Article 67, the obligation for halal certification for product circulating and traded in Indonesia, as referred to article number 4, comes into force 5 years after this law is enacted. Therefore, why we declare that we start for halal certification as a mandatory in 17 October 2016, because the parliament start formally to the government with law number 33 in 14 October 2014. So here the stressing on what kind of product be certified. It is the what is the scope of the product, products that are goods and or services that are related to food, beverage, drug, cosmetic, chemicals product, biological product, genetically engineered product, as well as consumer goods that are worn, used, or utilized by the public. While the mandatory here for certification, as mentioned in Article 4, product that enter, circulate, and traded in the territory of Indonesia must be halal certified. So how the product with contents of haram is also mentioned in article number 26, that business operator that produce product from material that comes from haram material as intended in article number 18, 19, 20 in law number 33 are excluded from submitting halal certificate application, but the business operators is intent in paragraph 1 must attach non-halal information on the product. Okay, next slide, please. So I think that is my 5-minute presentation, and I hope that it will be more making the understanding for all and as input for our discussion today. Thank you, Halal Indonesia, for the world community. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof, for the introduction of the Indonesian halal law. So now our next panelist would like to invite Ustazah Hakimah, the only lady among panelists and moderator. May I hand the floor over to Ustazah Hakimah to briefly introduce Malaysia's halal infrastructure. Please, Ustazah.
Muted.
Thank you, Mr. Miza, the moderator, distinguished guests, our fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I would like to present our halal infrastructure in Malaysia. The first one is on the overview of Halal Malaysia. As we started our halal certification in 1974, it is only for the responsible to make sure that all products consumed by Muslims in Malaysia are halal. So we only have general guidelines, interpretation, try to interpret the requirement of the Sharia laws in the Quran and Hadith regarding to food, halal food, into guidelines, just guidelines. But in 2003, the government of Malaysia decided that halal should be an international move to make sure that Malaysia to be halal hub. World Halal Hub. So MITI at that time formed a committee, a technical committee for Malaysia to be Halal Hub, and decided there a proper landscape have to be applied in Malaysia halal landscape. The first one, it has to be on the legal framework. So the mandate has been given to the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs to make sure that Muslim consumers are well protected. So we already come with the Trade Description Act 2011, which is an amendment from Trade Description Act 1972. And the next move is on the accreditation and standard development by Standards Malaysia, Department of Standards Malaysia, which is the Standards Malaysia form a national standard committee on halal, also Technical Committee for Halal Standards. And the third move is on the industry development and promotion, where MITI had already had the initiative at that time on the promotion with the Matrade, the SMIIC Corps to develop the halal industry, and later on comes HDC to make sure that the initiative is properly handled. And the third move is on research and human development, where universities as well as HDC is also involved in the halal research and halal human development. And the fifth one, of course, is on halal certification. So at that time, we are no longer a certified product based on just the guideline, but we need to use standard as a reference in our halal certification. Next slide, please. Okay, the first one is on the law and regulation. In Malaysia, we have Trade Description Act 2011. This regulation, this law is not for the mandatory regulation that is met for halal certification. The halal certification is still on the voluntary basis, but this regulation is meant to make sure the Muslim consumers are protected for any misconduct or any mislabel of halal logo. So there are two trade description orders based on Trade Description Act. The first one is on definition of halal. In the previous Trade Description Act 1972, it only have a very general requirement for halal interpretation. But in this new order, 2011, it is clearly prescribed that halal is not just element of ingredients or anything that consists of halal ingredients, but it is also including any part or any matter that involve anything that prohibited by Sharia law. So this is it's also including the non-poisonous and hazardous to health. So the element of food safety also included in the interpretation. The next one, next slide, is the Trade Description Act on Certification and Marking of Halal Order 2011. This order is the one that I mentioned to protect the Muslim consumers from any unlawful certification activities or any self-declaration of halal. Last time, anybody can declare halal on their products, but with this new order, all food, goods, or services shall not be described as halal unless it is first certified as halal by the competent authority, which is JAKIM or MAIN. MAIN is State Religious Council, and it has to be marked with the specific logo issued by the competent authority. And for imported product, the certification of halal should also applies to the imported food and goods, where they must be certified as halal by the foreign halal certification body recognized by JAKIM. Okay, next. This is our halal certification structure. The first one is we are appointed as a or nominated as a competent authority stipulated by law, the Trade Description Act, JAKIM and MAIN or JAIN. And also we are accredited by DSM according to ISO IEC 17065. Although JAKIM is an authority, a government authority, where we actually abide with the government regulations, but there are still demands, national and internationally, for us to get accreditation for global recognition. And Alhamdulillah, on the 10 October last year, Alhamdulillah, we managed to get accredited by DSM. And the next one is on the fatwa and advisory. Although we have already put our certification as a system, proper system with the standards, we make fatwa as a main certification reference, especially on Sharia. And this is very crucial because we know that the technology, food technology is very dynamic. And in some product, they may involve a certain doubtful material that needs to be clarified or to be determined as whether it is halal or not by the muftis. So we put fatwa as a certification reference on Sharia. And also we have our Halal Advisory Committee. So on top of our halal system, we have a group of members in the committee which involve not only the Sharia expertise, but also on the technical expertise, scientists, consumer groups, as well as the industry representatives. And apart from that, we also use the analysis, lab analysis in our certification, where the Department of Chemistry Malaysia is the department that responsible for the analysis. And we are now also developed Malaysia Halal Analysis Center, MyHAC, and it's still under the development of methods of analysis and in the process to get accreditation from DSM on ISO IEC 17025. And we have standard reference, 7 standard Malaysia Halal standards that we use for certification reference. Next slide. The first one is on halal food, MS 1500/2009, general requirements, the 3rd revision. Second one is on MS 2424/2019 on halal pharmaceutical general guideline, 1st revision. The 3rd one is MS 2634/2019 halal cosmetics. 4th is MS 2000 Part 2 2012 on Islamic consumer goods, the usage of animal bone, skin, and hair, general guidelines. The 5th one is on MS 2400. Part 1 is on halal supply chain management, transportation. The second part of MS 2400 is on warehouse, general guidelines. And the last one is on MS 2636, 2019. The latest standard is on halal medical device general requirement. And we are actually, together with Standards Malaysia, actually is in the process to develop 8 more standards coming for guidance to us in the certification. Next. Okay. Next one is we have a 9 scheme of halal certification. Later on, we will see the list on. Then in the process of certification, we use the manual procedures of Malaysia Halal Certification, which is an interpretive document to halal standard. And in the manual contain the certification process, the monitoring and enforcement process, as well as the guidelines to the industry. And the 3rd one is on digital and traceability system. Since 2011, we use my e-halal system for our halal certification, where all application, starting from the application until the approval and issuance halal certification is done through this system. And Alhamdulillah, with the stability of this system, we during this MCO, we actually managed to continue our certification. Almost 100% of application we can process. And the other system is on traceability system, which is Smart Halal. This Smart Halal is an application and apps which integrated with the 𝗪𝗪 system to give a live data to the consumers. They are searching, you can search the companies or the data of halal certified companies and products. The next one is halal built-in. We believe that in the process of certification, it is not about the conformity assessment from the certification body only. The commitment of the industry is very crucial. So in 2013, we introduced halal assurance systems where the industry need to follow certain requirement in the halal requirement based on our standards and procedures. And it is upgraded this year to Malaysia Halal Management System, where we include in this new system the requirement for the SMEs and micro company as well, because we understand that it is not quite easy for the SMEs and micro enterprise to follow strict standard of halal certification. So they need to have proper guidelines on the halal system for their better halal commitment. And last but not least, in our structure is the foreign CB recognition. We have right now 84 halal certification bodies and in 46 countries. And Malaysia, we use Malaysia recognition of foreign halal certification bodies, which is in the process of revision. So we still receive comments from public to make it a proper document. Next slide. Okay, this is the 9th scheme: food, premises, slaughterhouse, cosmetic, pharmaceutical, logistic, consumer goods, manufacturing, OEM, and medical device. Next one. And on international cooperation, of course, we have SMIIC, OIC. We are members since 2014, and we are now member of board of directors as well, and chairman of the 2 technical committee, which is on halal supply chain issue and pharmaceutical issue, and also members in TC 1, 2, 5, 8, 10, 11, 15 and 16. And also we have we also involved in the IMTGT, WG-HAPAS, ASEAN Halal Working Group, MABIMS as well, and we also involved in other bilateral cooperation in various countries on halal. So I think that's all for my presentation, Mr. Mirza. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ustazah Hajah Hakimah binti Muhammad Yusoff, the Deputy Director General Policy of JAKIM. I think that's briefly introduced about the landscape of our Malaysia halal infrastructure. That concludes the first part of our discussion, whereby we have a good flavor of presentation from SMIIC, from Indonesia and from Malaysia. So I would like to express my sincere appreciation to distinguished panelists for this introduction that gives a flavor to our next course of discussion on Q&A sessions. To proceed to the next questions, I would just like to ask questions, as I mentioned, one questions, but the panelists will answer on based on your own perspectives. Okay, the questions is like this: how can SMIIC, authority, CB, whoever you are, play a role in the alignment of the local halal infrastructure to the global halal infrastructure? So perhaps I would like to pose this question to Mr. Ihsan first, followed by Professor Sukoso, then Ustazah Hakimah. So I may now call upon Mr. Ihsan to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Assalamu alaikum again. The main goal of SMIIC is to harmonize the practice of the member states on halal confirmed efforts and accreditation by using common standards. This is a system that are used among the world for many certification of products, services, etc. Well, the SMIIC standards are developed for this purpose. So mainly the idea of the established system that to implement at global level. At national level, it's expected that they follow the system that is available at global level. SMIIC playing the role is its role as providing a wonderful member state to come together and to develop necessary standards. So the ideal case, whenever the member states stand behind their studies and activities in SMIIC, the global halal infrastructure system will occur and succeed automatically. That's the reason if now we see a system in Indonesia, a system in Malaysia. For the countries, maybe it's a very excellent system and to serve, to protect Muslims, etc. But we have to look globally. Well, we will to make easy trade among member states. If we insist our local system and bring the members and to follow our standards, etc. As you've seen from the Malaysian list of standards, 100% is same SMIIC, but they're still using their own numbering and ours. I know Malaysian DSM, in voting time, approved the SMIIC standard in SMIIC level. But go to locally, we are still using same as our own numbering and our standard, and say we have 9 scheme, etc. As a national is very good idea, but how we will, these standards, Malaysian standards also will be used internationally. The recognition system protect your country, but not serve the other countries. We have to look to all Muslims, because Muslims are living in all over the world, not in our country only. That reason global can be a single standards and internet standards. I'm not happy to see that with the ISO standard accreditation. It's not enough for halal CBEs, because we have standards for the halal accreditation, halal certification. If we go to the ISO system for halal and go to the ISO for the accreditation and promote this ISO, it will open the door for tomorrow to the non-Muslim for certification and accreditation. We have to be careful, because our standards, the SMIIC standards, prepared by all member states, all countries, from Morocco to Indonesia. And maybe there's some countries new came, but for turn back to your question, globally recognized, we will start first the global standards, and then the system can be our joint system. Thank you for the chance to give answer to your question.
Thank you, His Excellency, for answering the questions. So may I now invite Professor Sukoso from your own perspective with regard to the questions?
Yeah, I think as we must do share together to make a dialogue, yeah, because every country have a specific problem. in this case, for example, in my country, you know, especially for small medium enterprises, yeah, we have a very big problem to implement, even it is the quality or the halal standard. Yeah. Therefore, yeah, first, making a harmonization is the important one, and also the recognition. I think the Indonesian system is open to recognize the standard from other countries, but of course it must be based on the government to government cooperation, or maybe SMIIC with some reference also adopted in my standard, in our standard, or in standard in my country. But it is situational. It is depend on the condition to implement. As you know, that we start for the halal in 2019 is really with a total of the small medium enterprises is very big enterprises here. So of course we always open, yeah, and making a dialogue with the other partner, like in forum, like in MABIMS, also MTGT, ASEAN Halal, and also other institution. I think this is my opinion. Therefore, the stressing is how to make a dialogue, to harmonize and to understand each other with in every national condition. Thank you, Moderator.
Thank you, Prof, for the feedback that you have just given. Now I will turn to Ustazah Hakimah. Apart from answering the question that I've already posed to you, so perhaps you can also respond to Mr. Ihsan on what you have mentioned just now, to make this discussion more lively. So the floor is yours, Ustazah.
Thank you, Mr. Mizar. I agree with Mr. Ihsan that we should have a common standard, and the platform is there already in the SMIIC. But I also agree with Prof. Sukoso that every country has its own issues, like the policy, national policy, and national regulations, and the issues with the industries, national industries as well. Although we need to find ways to make sure that there will be a common recognition, global recognition based on the common standards, but we also need to respect the national preference, and the readiness of the industries, SMEs, micro. For me, is very important. Yes, we can use the international standard for the certification, but the problem with our small, medium, or micro industry need to be tackled, because they even though it is everything is assumed halal in Malaysia, but for halal certification, they need certain requirements that they have to follow. So this is still need more intervention by the various government agencies. And in Malaysia, when I mentioned about Malaysia halal management system last time, it is like a preparation for the industries to go for their global market. And as well as when we recognize certain certification bodies outside, it's not because that we don't want to recognize SMIIC, because we are a member of SMIIC, but from our experience, we understand some certification bodies, they are actually not ready to comply with all the accreditation requirements. So we need to train them, we need to make them prepare, and in future, I mean, in the near future, we can use accreditation as one of the requirements for recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ustazah, for very, for the feedback or information that you have given to us. So I think to summarize this question and answer, I think it's good that if we have a global system for halal infrastructure, but as mentioned by Indonesia and Malaysia, we have also to acknowledge the sovereignty right of our national infrastructure, whereby we have to consider all the concern by our local industry, and we have regulations, we have laws in particular in our country. So, but as I gathered from the answers, I think it's quite promising that Indonesia, Malaysia, and even other parts of the world would see that the final agreement should be at the level of international body like SMIIC. So I think this is the summary of our discussion. So let's move to the second question. Do you think that a global halal infrastructure will provide solutions to trade and improve businesses? Do you think that a global halal infrastructure will provide solutions to trade and improve businesses? I mean, in terms of facilitating trade, support sustainable economic growth, for example, improve quality of products and services, and increase revenue and profitability of our local SMEs. Do you think that a global halal infrastructure will provide solution to trade and improve the businesses? So perhaps I will start first with Prof. Sukoso, followed by Mr. Ihsan, and then Mr. Hakimah. Please, Prof, to answer the second question.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So yeah, it's really, of course, it's very supported with the profile of the global halal system, yeah, or infrastructure. But in this case, you know, like what in Indonesia, for example, we must go to the technical barrier on trade on WTO, yeah, because, you know, as I mentioned before, that Indonesia is the first country have the halal law. Therefore, sometimes it's really I know that this is giving a good facility for the global trade, yeah. But in other case, therefore, I believe that by doing good communication, good negotiation, it will be a tool to solve this problem, especially for SMIIC. Yeah, I hope that SMIIC in this case as the global institution cooperate with Islamic countries. Here is the potential institution to collaborate together to give the idea in the World Trade Organization how the importance of the halal, especially for the Muslim. It is not a barrier, for example, but it is as a Muslim, we need the halal product, something like that. So it's my explanation because everything must go in with starting with very new for our country to start with the halal certification system in this case. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Can we hear from Mr. Ihsan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The solve the problem can be by systems, but under SMIIC, we have a lot of platforms. For example, the Confirmed Assessment Committee is a policy committee. these SME problems, the other certification problems, recognition of the national certification, etc., can be discussed by all partners, all stakeholders, all government institutions. But I still our members, our brothers Muslims, are afraid to discuss this issue, to solve the problems. Every time we have specific issue in our country. Each country has a specific issue. We go to Turkey, they have some concerning. Because of madhab, because of the tradition, because of the culture of the country. But products, not holy. Products is halal, is not halal. How we will solve the problem? With a system, with a joint system. If I insist, for example, if we still insist on our understanding, we will tomorrow see the million fake logos, fake certificates in the world. I saw a company from a small country in Turkey. We don't know the company is there or not. But this company logo is in China, in Korea, in Africa, in Indonesia. They're asking this. There is a company has this one. No, not registered. Nobody knows this one. But when go to the certificate, a lot of hadith, ayat on the logo, starting with tasmiyah, and then good design, and they put on the certificate MS, Indonesian standards, Emirates standards, Saudi standards, SMIIC standards, and well designed, but nothing that's very, very fake. That's the reason I answer to your question. Solution to facilitate we have to have global halal infrastructure. It means speaking the same language. By doing this business and trade, the same language is the use of common standards. So if common standards are used, you communicate with the stakeholders and you have facilitate in your hand. In this SMIIC, we have a lot of platforms. For example, in the next end of this month, we will start the week again, and we serve to invite all members, but they hesitate. They don't want to cooperate, and every time some political, some afraid, I don't know. This platform means to start to fight, to start to discuss and solve the problem. We have to solve this problem together, not wait from the government, from the others, from our countries, and then we will turn back the country. We, as in the internet platform, solve the problem. Now the government will first follow our joint system. Not our means. We are also you are representing the government. It's Indonesian delegates represent the country. First, we have to bring the problems and discuss together. If I want to solve locally, it will be say locally. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for the response. I think we have another distinguished panelist to respond to the question. I now hand the floor over to Ustazah Hakimah. Please, Ustazah.
Thank you, Mr. Mizar. Yes, it is important to have a common global halal structure. But like I mentioned, in a way to do it, we still need to respect the preference of the national interest. And that doesn't mean that we cannot have the global halal infrastructure, because when we talk about global halal infrastructure, it's not about standard only. It's involved the certification system, the personnel, professionalism of halal personnel, the security, the integrity of halal certification, and we need to have a mechanism to harmonize the numerous issue of halal certification practices first. But in the process of having the international halal infrastructure, there comes the issue that we need to harmonize, like I mentioned just now, on on the halal certification system itself, on the competency and professionality of the personnel. During our recognition process for the halal CV, sometimes we experience to find that there are auditors that do not understand very well what is halal all about, what is the use of standards and all that. So there's still much more need to be done to train this group of people of the halal certification bodies. Maybe if Mr. Ihsan mentioned on the common halal infrastructure, we can start small with the Muslim countries first to look into how we can harmonize this system, and we can find a solution. Right now, for Malaysia, we need to find another way on to assist the trade, and especially through the MRA or the bilateral platform. But of course, for one or two countries, yes, we can have MRA, you can have bilateral. But if there are so many, yes, we need some common infrastructure to be practiced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ustazah Hakimah. Conclude the question number 2. If I may summarize, so I think at global level, there's opportunity for member states of OIC to work together and resolve the issues of common interest, as mentioned by Mr. Ihsan. So the infrastructure is there. So and then Professor Sukoso and also Ustazah Hakimah mentioned about the need to work together in small scale first, and then we build upon the cooperation and to eventually have a good global infrastructure that can be applicable in all countries throughout the world. So I have been informed by the Secretariat from HDC, even though we have a lot of questions from our audience, but in the interest of time, I don't think we can proceed to the Q&A session with audience. But as I mentioned earlier during my opening, so I would like to encourage audience to send your questions to the Secretariat, and by leaving your email addresses, so that we can follow up. The panelists could answer your questions, because we have a limited time to do the next course of action in terms of opening the Q&A session to all audience out there.
May I say the last word?
Yes.
If I think you are going to close, are you?
I think I will give the floor to each and every panel members to say your final words, because we don't have time to, even though we receive a lot of questions from audience, we don't have time to post these questions online now. So, but perhaps we will take the question offline. As I mentioned, they have to provide their email addresses so that you can give your answer later by responding to their emails anyway. But because we are running out of time, I would like to once again perhaps to give last words to all panelists to conclude this discussion. So I will start with Mr. Ihsan first.
Thanks again, Mr. Moderator, Brother Mirza, and our distinguished panelists, Professor Sukoso and Mr. Hakimah, and organizers. For us, very early morning, just after Fajr, we start, but I'm still asleep. But no problem. I just want to say some. We in the SMIIC, we are SMIIC not just for the office producing standards. We are just coordinating for standard for all issues, not only halal, but our priorities for halal issues. Because the problem in many countries, in the Middle East, in our region, we are living in Turkey. Many approaches here. Maybe in your country you solve your problems, but you have to solve the halal problems of the world. And that's the reason in the understanding we established a lot of platforms. For example, we need to establish a standing committee. It will be work every time, advisory committee for the recognition of methods and the new initiative of each countries, and how we will why for example a country, Singapore, insist in a system and have their own understanding. We have to listen and solve the problem together, not only Malaysia, Turkey, or others, because the Muslims are living everywhere. Products are producing everywhere, not in our country. If products from Malaysia, I can eat, no problem. I will not look the logos if I know the owner of the company, etc. But products are traveling faster than us. That reason we have a lot of platforms and experts like Hakimah, like Hakimah and Professor Sukoso should be there, not only from some junior experts from standards body. Then this standards body should inform all related persons, organization in their country. I say for 16 standards of halal, majority of them are approved by Malaysian in our system. But still, for example, as you said, we have halal quality management system. Also, SMIIC has halal quality, which is our single standard. Why Malaysia has, SMIIC has. SMIIC is yours, not mine, not Turkish, not that. We have to be more careful and change don't be afraid to be internationally, because we are international country. We are not looking locally, I'm saying not Malaysia, for all countries, but I invite all professionals to be more active in our SMIIC platforms, technical platforms, and discuss the problem and make the professional to the systems. We are talking the system, not standard. Standard is anytime you can change it, but system should be strong and serve and answer all our questions. Thanks again for your this conference series, and it's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Excellency. Professor, your last word.
Yeah, thank you for especially for SDC to give the facilitation for the making a dialogue. I think the continued dialogue like today is very important in order to make a mutual understanding, because communication there is an important point in my opinion here. Yeah, because for example, Malaysia have maybe a specific something, and also our SMIIC or IC have very big standard, very what standard can be possible to absorb in our system in Indonesia. So of course, I'm here in Indonesia. Appreciate to SDC give the facility to make a dialogue in order to make a unity in idea of halal for our Muslim community in the world. Thank you. That is my.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the remarks. So now I hand the floor over to Ustazah Hakimah for your final words. Ustazah, please.
Thank you very much, especially to HDC for inviting me as a panelist today. Indeed, it is very fruitful discussion, and we are looking forward for more and more discussion of the topic like this on the harmonization of the global infrastructure. In fact, although we have SMIIC and participate in it, but I think what Mr. Ihsan said is need to be observed in future as well, so that we can have a global infrastructure, a common global infrastructure, but at the same time, we need to respect the national interest, and maybe in the process of having a common understanding or common recognition of standard, we need to have some approach based on the flexibility of the structure, so that we can every country can accept it very well, and at the same time don't have to give some, to affect the local needs. So thank you very much. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ustazah. Thank you very much to distinguished panelists for the very informative and insightful session. You are clearly experts in this practice who will help steer the halal industry forward. With this, we have now come to the end of our event. So I would like to thank you. Thank each and every one of you for taking time to join us and learn more about global alignment on halal conformity. On behalf of HDC, the organizer, I would like to apologize for any shortcomings, especially because we are running off time. We cannot take online all the questions from audience. So I would like to encourage those who have question to email to the organizer, and the panelists for sure will respond to your questions. So now we look forward to more participation from industry players into halal industry. So thank you once again. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.